Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and we have made it. The final day of regular season group play matches conclude today, with many other interesting things to dive into as well, especially regarding what the pros had to say last night about the Friendship League. Lots of discussion about players even potentially sabotaging their own squads in order to support their friends on other teams. Intriguing your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Already upset the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, just wanted to mention this type of thing on the production side. You guys may have noticed this, and I've seen this a couple of times, as Gary Skills points out right here, the fact that for some reason the player cams, when they're lined up, you can see Scump's arm right here goes through Dashy's cam, because they're not in this order as players, so I'm not really sure why the CDL has a fascination with putting them in this order every single time, even though that's not the order they're actually in. So maybe they could do something with that going forward, but thought this was kind of interesting as well. Joey Nubsy and a few other people last night were watching some Japanese Call of Duty, and well, they were really impressed by the actual, the overlay and stuff that they had right here. You can see the little players that come up on top, and there's easyMac was saying that the production in the Japanese league is just way better than it is in the actual CDL, right? Which is obviously quite the disappointment, I suppose, for us as CDL fans. Like, this is kind of cool. The whole graphic scheme is pretty incredible. Like, this looks particularly good, and what a banger matchup. Cyclops Athlete Gaming versus Rush Gaming, two of the top teams out in that region, most certainly. So let's talk about some quick reaction to yesterday's series, OpTic versus Thieves, because certainly was an interesting one. And I was talking yesterday about the possibilities of, could it hurt OpTic's confidence going forwards? On one end, it could be a good thing, right? Because as Octane says, look, they've been absurd, they've been some absolutely absurd series as of late, no doubt about it. I mean, of course, the OpTic versus FaZe Game 5 round 11-1, that seemed like a massive hump that OpTic got over. And if they'd have come out yesterday and just, completely destroyed Thieves, that may have made them incredibly confident going into the major. But at the same time, the loss for FaZe a few days ago against OpTic could be very good for them in a sense. Okay, they get to see, okay, we're not invincible, right? We can still lose series. We've got things to work on. Could be the same for OpTic in a way, because I felt like they just got too comfortable at times, and they were just taking things in their stride, and Los Angeles Thieves capitalized on that pretty nicely and showed some good resilience. And on the other side of things, Thieves, like, what a strange team they are, right? Like, all of a sudden they're looking pretty good against FaZe just a few days ago, then they come up against Paris and get, they lose to Paris, right? And then they come up against OpTic in reverse sweep, and like, what's going on with these teams right now? It's so hard to predict what's going to happen with these squads, but still makes things pretty exciting for this upcoming major. We don't really know where these teams lie and what these matchups could potentially hold. But yeah, that's the thing for OpTic, right? As he says right here, lots to take away from that series to tighten up before the major. Thanks for the support. That's one of the good things in a way for OpTic, right? This series, they were guaranteed first seed regardless, so this could be a good learning experience for them to realize, look, let's not overshell when we get in good situations. Like, in order to keep beating these top teams consistently, we've got to just, keep on rolling, to be honest, through the series, playing great Call of Duty and great fundamental Call of Duty, not letting things run away from us, because that's kind of what happened in this series, as I got fun and formal saying right here. And as Dashy says, look, got way too ahead of ourselves after the first two maps. We kind of thought it was over and it was going to be GG, and kept rolling into the checkmates, especially checkmate control, checkmate hardpoints, two maps where you'd imagine OpTic would at least find one of those to close it out. Doesn't happen on the day though, and they end up losing the game 5 in pretty interesting fashion. As Envoy says, well, that was annoying. GG's Thieves, lost 3-2, back to the drawing board, can't be taking L's like that. This is certainly a good attitude, I think, from Envoy, right? Realizing, look, that's not an acceptable way to lose a series. If you want to win a major and stuff, you're going to have to beat a fair few good teams in a row, and that's going to mean, being consistently good and stuff like this. So we'll have a look at exactly what the bracket could be here in just a couple of seconds. This is if playoffs for the World Championship started today. This is what it would look like. So right now, this is how it's going. Thieves and Mutineers down there, and losers Empire versus Rokkr, who will play Ultra, then Subliners OpTic will play FaZe in the winners brackets. This is the thing. OpTic probably going to be here, it looks like. That means they're going to have to win, two difficult series to get past FaZe, to actually get to the winners finals, and obviously it doesn't get any easier from there. So they're going to need to consistently beat top teams. That's something they need to sharpen up, to be honest, even though they have been looking so much better as of late. This I thought was interesting just in terms of the major seeding. If Dallas beats Toronto tomorrow, or today even, Atlanta versus Minnesota, winner plays Dallas will be the first round, then Toronto versus Thieves, winner plays OpTic. So OpTic are going to play either, potentially Thieves or Toronto or Minnesota, depending on how things go with the seeding. We'll look at in a couple of minutes time here exactly how that final series breaks down, and what the seedings could potentially be. Let's talk about this then, right? So some talk yesterday about the Friendship League with some of these players. Paris Legion and Aqua were talking about the series that they had yesterday against the London Royal Ravens guys, and thought it was very, very interesting indeed what he has to say. My last league match of the season, maybe career, because who knows what can happen with the Friendship League, but let's turn up. Now, of course, they fall in Game 5 round 11. It was a pretty dramatic fashion, honestly, that they lost this series in, but Interesting to hear what he says, right? Aqua, I'm pretty sure, has some decent friends in the pro league, been around for a fair bit of time, but some of the guys that he's teamed with for a long time, the likes of Loony, for example, have, they're no longer in the scene in terms of a starting player, so it's always kind of scary for these players. No, well, expected expansion next season, we don't really know what's going on, we haven't really heard any rumours about it, right? So we'd maybe expect that that's not going to be the case, and therefore, for a guy like Aqua, it might be pretty difficult to hold on to your spot, right? Because there's a lot of other main assault rifles coming up. It's so difficult to be a main AR around the league because there's so many other players vying for a spot, the likes of Methods, Accuracy, of course, now been benched off a team. There's guys in Challengers as well that are trying to do the same thing. So a guy like Aqua, it's kind of tough to hold on to that spot. But what he has to say about the Friendship League here in a second is pretty interesting indeed. So Jacob says, look, shut up and make some more friends, right? Because the Friendship League has been a discussion the majority of the season. At the end of the day, being friends with your teammates is pretty important, right? The fact of the matter is that the Atlanta FaZe guys, not only are they incredibly good, and I'm sure the OpTic guys as well, but they're also great friends out of the game, and that certainly helps, right? It certainly helps their camaraderie, but also getting on and practicing every day and wanting the best for your teammates and having that good team culture certainly helps if you actually are friends. At the same time, though, there has always been the discussion of the fact that some of these new players, new up-and-comers, that could well become great friends with some of the top pros if they gave them the time of day, get kind of gate-kept out of the league by players just picking up old guard type stuff. And, you could potentially see that with the Los Angeles Thieves this season, it felt like for a time that the Friendship League was kind of over when Jacob, who's obviously been around Slasher for a long time, made, somewhat big decision, right, to bench Slasher off the team earlier this season. But then you get the situation where John comes into their team now, and it's like, okay, is that was he the best SMG player in Challengers that they could have got? Maybe indeed he was, but is there, some degree of, friendship existing there and chemistry with the team, which obviously is an understandable reason as well. So it's kind of tough to say whether the Friendship League is good or bad to some degree, but as Aqua continues right here, like, throw dirt on others and make my way in a fake group, I'm cool off that. So this is kind of what Aqua is implying that it happens behind the scenes with some of these pro players, and goes on to continue along these very lines, as Jacob says, make some more friends, quote-unquote friends, says Loony, not so convinced. Jacob, comes back with this, ILLey been in the scene, that being Aqua, of course, how long? All of a sudden he's in the TeamSpeak daily. That'd be comedy, right? The idea is, okay, if you're in the TeamSpeak with all the pros, you're building up, the connections, you're getting the friendship stuff going, and that's when you're actually going to get picked up to other teams. Even nowadays, of course, the players that make they're a huge part of the decision as to get picked up onto certain squads. It's not just the coaching staff and the management of the teams, even though they obviously have some important factors to play. But this is what Aqua says I thought was particularly interesting. LMAO, no BS, fools be sharing each other's VODs too, don't even get me started. Kind of saying, thanks to James for pointing this out to me, saying that, like, look, wow, these players in these TeamSpeaks and stuff are sharing each other's VODs of practice, just so, I guess they can help each other out for matches and stuff like this, which is really strange, to be honest, right? Like, I guess these people are particularly good friends, therefore they've got their VODs recorded of matches, they might send it to their mates or something so they can prepare for an upcoming series, but also that's going to hurt them in the long run, right? So I guess that shows how much the friendship culture in a way prevails through the Call of Duty ecosystem, in the fact that some teams are kind of willing to, maybe even sabotage their own teammates in a way by giving their VODs away to their friends on other squads, and that might help, hurt them down the line, right? If those VODs get to the coaching staff, and of course they save them on their PCs and everything, they can look through them before matches, then I guess this is VODs from practice and stuff like that, right? Which teams wouldn't have access to elsewhere, and not from actual official games, because obviously everyone can get those on the CDL YouTube and stuff. So stuff like this, really strange, to be honest. Maybe some of the reasoning why these bottom tier teams are having a difficult time, and that's the thing, right? If you're a pro player in the COD scene, you've got to figure out these last couple of months, especially if you're on a bad team, like, how exactly do I keep my spot for next year? Does that mean I'm, getting really friendly with some of these other players, giving them some VODs or whatever the case may be, or, does that mean I just have to perform particularly well individually on the server? And even if my team falls off significantly, does it really matter at the end of the day if I'm looking good? And that might be something we see on these, last couple of matches of today. As Aqua does continue, like, I'm not retiring, just to clear it up, you won't catch me begging or being desperate. I have a different mindset than others, and that is grinding as a team. Challenges needs to be better formats, so no point me always watching my back 24/7. Absolutely sick of it. So interesting what Aqua says here, like, look, doesn't want to go down to the challenger side, wants to grind as a team, right, which doesn't really happen in challenges. You kind of just, switch things up on the daily if things are not going particularly well. Wanted to mention this as well before we go on to today's games. Can't believe they just added this sign, says ILLey. So this sign, of course, on stand off the yellow one right here. Now, a lot of people saying are completely mind blown about this. This was definitely there, and I remember this distinctly being there, because it's there for a very good reason. And that's because if you're in top green, like the second hard point, and, they want to block off the line of sight for you looking over towards the A-bomb. They don't want you just sitting into top green and looking all the way through. And that's why this sign is there. It's a very good reason. They don't want you looking the other way as well. So I distinctly remember this being there back in, the Black Ops 2 days as well. But it's another one of these Mandela effect things, like the trees on Ardennes Forest, always, there's been a couple of other ones as well where like people are kind of mind blown that something gets well is actually in the game that kind of slips your attention the majority of the time. And well, Nameless is one of those people. There is like footage that people came out with of like it legitimately being in Black Ops 2, and some of the old gameplays was there. But I'm sure like some of you guys are kind of caught off guard by this, but check it in the game, it was indeed there. I'm not faded. It was 100, it was 10,000% not there. I'm sure it. I went back and watched clips from the 2013 and it's in those videos. This is some simulation stuff. The timeline is broken. Someone get Owen Wilson in here. There has been a branch, no doubt about it. I know for an absolute fact this was never there, but unfortunately for Nameless, that is fake news. Let's talk then about the games for later today. Explaining a three-way tie to Shotzzy is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Dallas, Rokkr, Florida. The way this tiebreaker works is it's how good did the team do against the other two teams they're tied against. So it's possible today that we get a three-way tie all at 3-2 between Dallas, Rokkr, and Florida. Now Dallas are 4-4 between the two teams, Rokkr are 4-3, and Florida are 3-4 in terms of map count. That means that Florida lose out in the three-way tiebreaker, and that is going to be enough to send them down to the losers bracket then, no matter what happens today. That's even if Dallas get 3-0'd by Toronto. Therefore, it just comes down to, well, what happened between these teams individually, as we'll look at here in just a second. These are the games then for today, the final regular season group play matches of the entire season. It's been a long time coming, to be honest. I think this last stage or so has maybe been one stage too much of just regular season play. I think we'd have liked to see maybe 4 stages and then throw an extra couple of tournaments into the mix or something along those lines. These are the games then. Gorillas versus Surge. Hopefully they break some GAs, pull out some snipers or something. For both these teams, they're chalked. They seem to realise they're chalked. It might be actually a kind of entertaining affair just to see who actually is the worst team in the CDL before the CDL finishes. Would be a great storyline, to be honest. Then in the second series, FaZe versus Subliners. Interested to see how this goes, because to be fair to New York, they've beaten FaZe a couple of times this season. The problem is for FaZe, when they lose a series like they did to OpTic last weekend, they seem to come out very strong as a result of that. So I'm expecting FaZe to come out here, and then Empire versus Ultra, that's kind of the battle for the first seed in that group. So that's still pretty important, and a battle of two pretty good teams in that pool. But I'm going to say Ultra should be slight favourites, given how the group is sitting right now. So Group A, I'm pretty sure, is set as it is. Even if New York win, they can't do any better than 5th. Even if FaZe lose, they can't get any worse than 2nd. And the other way around, they stay where they are. So on the Group B side, the difference is that if Toronto win, then they go 5-0. Dallas Empire go 3-2, and they'll actually be 2nd in the tiebreaker. So Rokkr will be 2nd, and therefore Empire will be 3rd in that group if Dallas lose. But if Dallas win, then they go number 1 seed, and Toronto goes 2nd seed. So that is certainly going to affect the bracket. But intriguing your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. Know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive quality of the community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.